Look at a map of global trade, and you'll find that the entire system relies on a handful of extremely tight bottlenecks. Here, between Iran and Oman, the Strait of Hormuz narrows to a width of just 21 miles at its narrowest point. Through that tiny gap flows a massive amount of the world's resources. We're talking 20 million barrels of oil every single day, roughly 20% of all seaborne oil trade, plus nearly a third of all internationally traded fertilizers. That flow continued smoothly until February 28, 2026. On that day, the United States and Israel launched a coordinated air campaign known as Operation Epic Fury, resulting in the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Within hours, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard began broadcasting warnings across marine radios, forbidding passage. A highly localized military strike had severed a vital commercial artery, triggering the largest shock to the global energy supply since the 1970s. Iran enforced this blockade through asymmetric naval warfare. They deployed remote-controlled explosive drone boats and dropped hidden sea mines directly into the shipping lanes. They combined these physical hazards with digital disruption. By jamming the Global Navigation Satellite System, or GNSS, and spoofing GPS signals, they effectively blinded the navigation systems of modern cargo ships, making the narrow passage completely unnavigable. This chart tracks maritime war risk insurance premiums immediately following the February 28 strikes. The cost to insure a vessel through the region jumped by 4 to 6 times its normal rate. For a massive oil tanker, that added hundreds of thousands of dollars to a single transit. The physical threat of drone strikes and sea mines, paired with astronomical insurance costs, created a wall across the water that commercial shippers simply could not afford to cross. The immediate result was a violent energy shock. Brent crude prices surged to a peak of $126 a barrel, and states like California saw average gasoline prices shoot well over $5 a gallon. This flowchart illustrates an even more urgent crisis branching off from the strait. The Gulf produces roughly 30% of the world's exported ammonia and massive amounts of liquefied natural gas, or LNG. Blocking these inputs trigger a severe global fertilizer shortage right at the start of the Northern Hemisphere's spring planting season. The ripple effects immediately spread into advanced manufacturing. Qatar relies on the strait to export helium, which is critical for medical MRI machines and semiconductor production. Raw aluminum exports from the Gulf also bottlenecked, squeezing aerospace and automotive factories worldwide. A chokepoint's leverage extends directly into global food security and industrial survival, exerting the same control over a farmer's harvest as it does over the price of a barrel of oil. Alternatives were severely limited. Terrestrial bypass options, like the east-west crude pipeline to the Red Sea, max out at around 9 million barrels a day. They couldn't come close to replacing the 20 million barrels typically flowing through Hormuz. After negotiations failed, the United States escalated the conflict. On April 13th, the U.S. Navy established its own counter-blockade, aggressively intercepting commercial ships attempting to enter or exit Iranian ports. This enforcement was strictly kinetic. In one instance, a U.S. submarine torpedoed and sank the Iranian frigate IRS Dana off the coast of Sri Lanka to cement American area control. The Persian Gulf locked into an intractable stalemate. Iran cut off the global transit routes, while the United States blockaded Iran, trapping international trade squarely between two warring militaries. Inside the Gulf, the logistics gridlock was staggering. Around 2,000 cargo vessels and 20,000 mariners were stranded. Even massive luxury cruise ships holding thousands of passengers were forced to drop anchor indefinitely. Importers panicked. Nations like China and India, which rely on the strait for 84 international diplomatic institutions, found themselves entirely powerless against raw geographic leverage backed by hard military force. Even when temporary ceasefires were announced, commercial shipping didn't bounce back. The trust was gone. Maritime insurance premiums remained elevated, and physical hazards like unmapped sea mines kept major shipping lines away. The 2026 crisis dismantled the idea of a fully resilient, borderless global market. It proved that an interconnected supply chain is ultimately physical. No matter how advanced our logistics algorithms become, global commerce remains tethered to a few narrow strips of water. When just 21 miles of ocean becomes a war zone, the entire planet pays the toll.